What do we do when we don't understand something? Think about that question for a minute. When was the last time you didn't understand what someone was saying, what something or someone meant, or their use for something? Personally, when I encounter such a situation, I tend to stay away from it or tune it out. And I think that a lot of us can relate to this type of behavior. And really, it's nothing to be ashamed of because we all do it. But those things that we skip over or tune out can backfire later on. Take instructions, for example. If you skip over something in instructions, it could later affect how the product will look or work. And the real answer is that we have so many resources around us to answer those small questions, like internet search engines, apps, and even our own assistants in our phones. But the problem is, we don't use those resources to their fullest potential. And we can see this problem play out in our homes, jobs, and daily conversations with one another. I started to notice this play out in my 6th grade English class when we had to make presentations for our books. The problem was that the tools that we were using, like Prezi, PowerPoint, or iMovie, had the potential for students to really express what they wanted. Just students didn't use these resources to their fullest potential. And so teachers tried their best to explain it, but they had a curriculum to fill. They can't go to every individual student and answer all their questions. So what I started to notice is what was needed in this great world of presentation tools was an effective instruction manual. Those quick and simple and accessible for all, and especially that would get the user's attention. And 2 years later, I got the opportunity to create such an instruction manual in my 8th grade year. What I did was, I gathered a team of 7 students and told them to come into a Creator Co meeting. Nobody really knew what Creator Co was or what was the point of going to school at 7 in the morning, but I just told them to come in. And when they came, it was cold, it was 7 in the morning, nobody really knew why they were there, and I still kept them uninformed. And I just asked them a question. What is the most common resource we use while creating a presentation? Apps was one of the first words to come out of someone's mouth. I asked them a follow-up question. What do we use? How many of you know how to use PowerPoint? Almost all of their hands shot up. Well, how many of you know how to embed a video into PowerPoint? Only one hand still stood standing in this empty field of cluelessness. Wow, right? This seems so simple and that everybody could do it, but a lot of students couldn't. And as I asked more questions about other apps and other tools that they use, I saw this cluelessness pop up on all of their faces more often. And so as the meeting drew to an end, I asked them, what can we do to help other students find the potential in the resources and really explain to them how to use these? And when the next meeting came, I saw this entrepreneurial sense in everyone. I'll spare you some of the debating and borderline shouting we had about the single question, and instead I will tell you what this team of 7 students and 2 teachers came up with. We called our Frankenstein invention AppBox, and AppBox is simply a website with 4 tabs. We have the Apps tab, which was in charge of making we have the Apps tab where students can find the resources that they use with tutorials attached to them. Then we had the Project apps, which was the same concept. Just here, students could learn how to add other apps content into the other app. Then we have the Tips page, where there students can get tips from one another on how to present, how to talk to one another, and in general, how to be a good student. Then we have the Help Center. And the Help Center is a place where students can get answers about the questions that they need, about the apps that they use. Not only the ones that they have on AppBox, but also the ones that they have found by themselves. And the point of this was to really diversify our product, to understand what people needed and what they used. And after coming up with this basic model of what we wanted to do, we realized, wait, how are we going to build this? And who's going to be in charge of building it? How are we going to exactly build this? And great, more questions to answer. And when the next meeting approached, I still didn't have an answer. But getting onto the bus, I noticed something: the amount of colors that filled the air. I mean, there was yellow and green, brown and amber, and all of these colors were attached to a tree, and the tree had a function that made up the forest. And that forest was really like our company. And so what I started drawing up in the meeting right after is what I call the color model. And how the color model works is by having different teams have different colors, and each team would have a specific part to make up the company. So, for example, our fours consisted of Team Yellow, which was in charge of video production and tutorials, Team Red, which was in charge of making the website and making it perfect for users to interact with, and Team Blue, which was in charge of marketing and communications. And the team would come in every single morning and work on what it said in the agenda. And the agenda was a general guide of what they were supposed to do. We didn't give them rigorous instructions, as though we understood that they need to fill it in with things that they found in the community, with things that they understood, and the projects that they have created throughout their lifetime. And I would like to thank the team members that are here today and the other team members that have worked with us, such as directors Evelyn Hosanna, Dunya Salem, and Olivia Rosansky. But I would also like to thank the teachers that worked with us, such as Ms. McDonough, Ms. Belady, Ms. Buyan, Mr. Mansilla, Mr. Rosinski, and Ms. Dornbos. Thank you all for coming, and really, you guys have inspired me. But after coming up with this basic model, and after coming up with the teams, we worked for about 3 months, and we were ready to launch. And we held a launch event. And the launch event was really a transition point from actually creating the product to now getting people to use it and getting people to understand how we work. And so, after about a month of having AppBox be launched, we had an obstacle again. And the problem was, the questions that students were asking in the Help Center were only about apps that were found on AppBox. They weren't looking anywhere else about any other apps. They closed themselves in a narrow box, which to us was a problem because we weren't providing support for anything else. And we couldn't because we didn't understand the tools that they were using. And so I called up the team and talked to them about the problem and asked them, what can we do? And somebody raised their hand and said, well, why don't we give others opportunities to create tutorials for apps they find? And I'm like, okay, but how are we going to do that? And someone else raised their hand and said, franchise, like the thing McDonald's did. Okay, let's base ourselves off of McDonald's. And after doing research about McDonald's and franchising in specific, we realized that we already had a lot of this franchise ideology done, as though we already figured out how to divide into different teams, about how to talk with one another, and how to access the community and understand what they need. And so we packaged it all up into a program, and we called the program Schoolbox. Schoolbox is still in the process of being tested and ironing out all the technical sides of it, but we are really proud to share this idea with you, because this idea shows growth. We originally had a completely different idea of what we wanted to make CreatorCo and AppBox into. But as we developed and as we were shaped by the community and the people around us, we realized that we needed to change, that we needed to grow. We added on more people, and that was truly amazing. We allowed ourselves to be shaped. And I think that everybody needs to have a little bit of that. Everybody needs to grow, but keep their core and central values inside of them. Because truly, the future isn't going to be developed by our parents or ancestors. It's going to be developed by the people that are on Earth right now. They're the ones that have built up their core values and are ready to take on the future. And I'm here to get teachers ready to pass on the reins to the students and to prepare students to really work with such a great responsibility. And something that I want you all to keep in mind while walking out of this room in a couple of minutes is that everything is possible with passion, determination, and support of a common goal. Thank you.